Yay! Hi! I haven't sat in front of the camera in a very long time. Things have been really busy around here at the Johnson house for reasons that actually have nothing to do with the adoption whatsoever. Just, life is a little bit busy right now. And so I had some time today, and I kind of thought of the next thing that I'd like to kind of catch in time and record now. So I figured I should film this particular video now for myself for the future, because the topic of this next video here could be coming up pretty soon. And so what I'm going to film myself talking about today is what the next steps could look like in our adoption. So this is something that we both get asked about a lot, and that we kind of do know the answer to. We can't know the answer perfectly, obviously, because we don't know what our situation is going to look like. But the questions we kind of get asked most often are like, is there a time frame that you guys know about, and what will the next few steps look like for you guys? So the answer to the first question is no, we don't have any kind of timeline right now. We're still waiting on a couple legal things to happen before we have our home study and everything, but before we can be put on the registry for the National Down Syndrome Adoption Network, there's a couple more legal things that we're waiting to just get cleared. And so we don't have any kind of time frame. We're technically not on the registry yet, but we could accept a placement. So if something else happens through like our agency, so like completely separately from the registry, if somebody at our agency comes and says, I would like to make an adoption plan, I'm expecting a child with Down syndrome, we can be matched with that family. So we do have that option, but we're just not on this registry where a bunch of families could be potentially looking at us, if that makes sense. And also, you really never know a timeline in the adoption world. It could be a lot of different things, which is what I'll talk about. People wait for years, people wait for weeks, some people wait 48 hours, I've heard stories, and so there's really no clear answer, and that is it's a lot of stress, and it's a big stressor for a lot of people that I know in the adoption world that struggle with that. It's something that I'm struggling with big time, because I don't know when I'm going to be a mom. I have no idea. And, my friends that are all expecting babies themselves, they know. They have a rough idea of when a baby's coming, and I have no idea when a baby's coming. It is stressful, but it's also really exciting. Like, that's really, really cool that it's just kind of out of my hands. My neighbor sees me. It's out of my hands. It's something that I have no control over. But I do get asked a lot if there's any kind of time frame of what could happen next, and the answer is no. So then the next question that I get asked most frequently is, what will your next steps look like? And so I'm going to talk about kind of the two options that are most likely. Obviously, anything can happen in any situation. And we're walking into this knowing that full well, and kind of expecting to not expect too much and to be surprised. But here are the two most likely scenarios that I think could happen based on my conversations with other families who have traveled the same path. The first thing that could potentially happen is, once we're put on the registry, it could happen that we get matched with a family that is expecting a baby with a diagnosis. So what that looks like is a woman is pregnant, and she has received the diagnosis that her baby will be born with Down syndrome, and she is choosing an adoption plan. So that means that she has then reached out to the National Down Syndrome Adoption Network and wants to start looking at families and wants to start making some decisions. And so she might give the network some certain parameters. So for example, if they were to say, I want a family who lives in a suburb community, who has no other children and has been married for at least a year, then every family that's on the registry that matches that will be sent to that family. So there's no like next in line or anything like that. It's whoever matches whatever parameters that the birth mother provides, that's who she can look at their profiles. So then say she looks at her profile and she goes, I pick Taylor and Kyle. We then are matched with them. And then it's kind of the same thing where we're just kind of waiting for the baby to be born. And I think that's really fun. We are hoping for an open adoption. And so I would kind of love to like be able to bond with the birth family while she's still pregnant and get to know the story of the family and everything, and learn like the sex of the baby and all those kinds of things. Sound kind of fun. And then basically then when the baby is born, we would fly to wherever the baby is born or drive, whatever, within the United States, and be there in the hospital, hopefully, with the birth family. And yeah, and then that's kind of that. The type A personality in me kind of feels like that option is so dreamy because it's like, oh, then I'll have time to plan because I'll know roughly when, if we're matched with an expectant mother, when we could be welcoming a baby, and so we'd have time to like get the nursery ready and pick our names. And so that idea sounds very dreamy. Obviously there are other tricky situations that could arise with that. We could be matched and the parents could decide to parent the baby, and while that would be really devastating for me and Kyle, if it's in the best interest for the child, that's a win for the child, and that's all we're in this for, is for the kids with Down syndrome. So if they're going to be in a loving home, that's great. We'd be okay with it. It would be hard, but we'd be okay with it. So that's one of the tricky like pros and cons of that scenario. And then hopefully we were given a little bit of notice in that, and yeah, that's kind of an option that I've heard of. But to be very honest, I've not heard a lot of people who are doing what we're specifically doing have that. They most commonly have the second option. The second option is that we are matched with a family who's already had the baby. I've talked to a lot of families who have adopted children through the National Down Syndrome Adoption Network, and this seems to be a pretty common occurrence. So it means that a mother and family a baby has been born, and they received an at-birth diagnosis, which means they didn't know that the baby they were pregnant with had Down syndrome. And for whatever reason, they are choosing to place their child up for adoption and make an adoption plan. And then that would happen very similarly to if it was a prenatal diagnosis. So at that point, if they're going to make an adoption plan, then we can be sent to them via profile the same exact way. They would pick the profiles, all of that fun stuff. That wouldn't look very different. The only difference is then the phone might ring and the phone call might not be, hey, a birth mom is pregnant in May and you guys matched. It might be, hey, fly to Arkansas for your baby tomorrow. So that one sounds really stressful to me, but so exciting. The dreamy part of that is it's like you wake up one day and you don't know what's going on, and then you wake up the next day and then you're a parent, and our family has grown. And obviously that sounds so stressful for me, like this planner. Like I'm very type A and I'm very organized, and I'm very much like I need to be in control of the plans that I'm doing, and so that's a struggle for me to like process. But I think it would be really fun. And to be honest, a car seat is really the only baby thing that we have purchased, because I'm so nervous that we're going to get a call that's like, hey, drive to Chicago tomorrow and go get this baby. And so I'm kind of like, well, we would need a car seat first. Like, we'd need to bring it back home. And so a car seat's the only thing we've purchased because of that second option. And with that second option, it's not a huge difference in terms of like what the process would be, but the time would be a lot quicker because the baby's already been born. And so it would be kind of a faster, like, all right, here's your baby. Quick LaCroix break. I love LaCroix. There are obviously also tons of other things that could happen, other like little intricacies of the process that it could be. But basically, once we're put on the registry, the next calls that we will get will be, we will be notified every time a family views our profile. So it will be a call that's like, hey, we're sending your profile to this family. Or it will be, hey, you've been matched with this family. Or, hey, you've been matched, there's a baby, here's what you should do. And people ask me a lot when I explain that to them. They say, well, do you have a preference? Is there one that you would rather do? For a long time, I kind of said that I would love to be matched with a family with a prenatal diagnosis, so that way we are able to like bond and connect, because we are hoping to have an open adoption, like I said. But the answer is no. I really don't have a preference. I just would like it to go smoothly for both us and for the birth families. I've developed such a huge respect for birth families. And so as long as everybody's comfortable and everybody's happy, and ultimately a child with Down syndrome is placed into a loving home, whether that be ours or another family on the registries or a family decides to parent, like that's all I really truly care about. And so I don't have a preference. And who knows, there might be a crazy third option that I don't even know about that'll happen, that's like, I don't even know. I don't want to imagine. But those are the two things that I think are most common. And of course, like every state has different adoption laws. So if our baby isn't born in the state that we live in, we'll have to adhere to those adoption laws, and we likely will adopt the child through that state. So the legal process after that could be anything. I don't even want to get into all of that because it could be so different. It could be, it will vary greatly based on state to state, even about like how we come home with the baby. Like, because certain states, they have certain amounts of time that the birth mother can't relinquish any parental rights beforehand. And so we might be in that state for like a week or so, or a couple of days. And if our baby's in the hospital, because kids with Down syndrome sometimes do have at least a little bit of a stay, we have to stay there. We can't fly a newborn baby. And if it's not a newborn baby, that same thing could happen. And the situation wouldn't be much different, but you can't just like leave. Like it's not like they're going to like just drop this kid into our arms and then we fly or drive home. There's a bunch of legal stuff, and that also does not mean that the child is automatically adopted into our family. It just means we have placement, we have legal guardianship. The formal adoption takes a long time after that, which is also kind of a thing where people get a little nervous about, could birth families change their mind after that? The answer is no, they can't. And that kind of thing is where social workers come in, and caseworkers and the agencies and things like that really come into play and are really super helpful. At least from what I've heard. Obviously, I've not experienced any of this, so it could be different. But, yeah, that's kind of the thing that people seem really concerned about, and that a lot of questions are happening about that. We also know that this process could take a very long time, but it also could take a really quick time. So I wanted to make sure that I kind of filmed this now, so that I had this moment frozen in time where we're kind of waiting for the phone to ring with news or updates or things like that. I'm really, really lucky. I'm in a show right now. I'm an actor, and so I'm in a really awesome play right now, so my mind has kind of not had to be consumed by the thought of like things aren't moving quickly. We're kind of in a waiting period right now, and so I've been very lucky that I've been in this show, but it's really important to me that I'm documenting like each of the little intricacies of what this process has been for us. And I would love to see in a few years, like, me watch this video and like laugh and be like, that none of those things happened to us, or oh, I was close on that, I was close on this, and to freeze this moment in time, because what I'm talking about right now are the moments that are going to happen next. And so it's kind of fun to have this saved. And so I just wanted to get this on film today. There are a lot of people watching these videos, which has been really fun. So if you want to follow along with us, you can hit the little subscribe button at the bottom, and that way you'll know when I post videos. Hopefully it'll be more than once every 3 weeks now. And you can kind of follow along and join the journey of finding baby Johnson. And if not, that's fine. Hey, welcome. Either way, we don't really care. This is, again, mostly for us, but if others are joining on us, on our journey with us, we welcome that too. So have a very happy day. I don't know what day it is because I don't know when this will be posted. But stay warm if you're in the Midwest. It's really cold. And we will see you guys soon. Bye!